Good morning, good morning, good morning. The YouTube side of things today was borked for some reason earlier. I had to do like a full reset of how that was connected, which is a bummer. I don't know what was going on there. Not that the YouTube side of things really are doing much, but they're recording everything, seeing as Twitch doesn't really do that. So I had to fix it either way. But yeah, let's get started, shall we? Oh, I would say that until my chair didn't get stuck. One moment. Okay. Oh, good morning. As I'm yawning still. Something about sitting here on stream immediately makes me yawn. I've been up for quite some time, but my brain just goes, you know what? I think we need to yawn. And yeah. Anyway. Yesterday doesn't really do much for stream right now by any means. Yesterday I was trying to set up new camera stuff. I don't have a new camera, but I do have my phone still. And so many people are like, oh, well, if you're starting out streaming, just use your phone, right? And I totally get that idea, but also I'm weird. I'm like, but then I don't have access to my phone. And I like having something just set up, right? So like this camera right here that I'm looking at now, I've had this set up and it's just there and I don't have to do anything, right? I'm a creature of wanting things already set for me to start. That said, I had another little attachment that I could always put on one of my lights here on the side. And for recording YouTube stuff, then I was like, man, it would be nice if I had different camera angles. Like, I don't know, I feel like for me, that's always engaging, even if it's just like a slight different camera angle, to see different stuff. And so yesterday I went through all the process. I found different software, went through all these testing things. I got different software for my phone for OBS here. And I got like a little camera, like a little mount for my phone onto my arm here. And it looks good. I'm not going to do it here on stream right now because I don't really need to. But for recording purposes, I think it'll be cool that I can have two different angles for videos in the future. Not necessarily streams. I don't know how necessary that is. It's just right there then. So if I'm looking down drawing, honestly, half the time when I'm drawing, I somehow end up like facing this way, my right. And so essentially all that camera would do would be like a -3/4, right? Like it would be like completely profile plus me angling to the side. So not necessarily super helpful for streaming, but hopefully helpful for other things later on. But I digress. Anyway, so first up on the docket is looking at art. Surprise, right? Normally I find my stuff and I always somehow click on it. I don't like, there's something about like these mice warriors creep me out. They're kind of weird looking, right? And that's fine. I always like just seeing the clothing, right? The clothing, the accessories, the weaponry, whatever people like give them. I always like to look at that. And so this one's super cute. So this is like a thing of like a very thin spool of not yarn, but like a thread, right? And then in it are matchsticks. And then on his arm is a razor blade, like taped. And all of his motif here is like using this like blue masking, the painter's tape, right? And that's like his little hold for the satchel. He's got little bits on his tail. That's how he's adhering the weapon to his arm. Rendering, not a huge, whatever, kind of looks creepy, kind of whatever. But I love the idea as always. So a Jenny Kamatov, Mice Warrior Assassins. Same idea here. He's got like safety pins, little pins, and a fork. Less fun with this one, to be honest, but still cool. I like the little pins here, like the sewing pins. This one though, what is this? Is that a water bottle cap? That's actually pretty dope. It's a water bottle cut so that you could put the little ears through and it's like a little helmet. That's funny. See, it's that kind of stuff that gets me. Like, I don't really care always necessarily for these specific things, but there's something about like the fun ideas that come along with them, right? So let's see what. Oh, he popped up in my feed because he's the guy who did that ball thing that we looked at the other day. That makes sense. That's funny that he was popped up because he's like, hey, you already looked at his stuff. You clearly like it. But I did not give him a follow then, and I'm still not gonna. But cool stuff. I started at the end. Oops, I started on the far right. I guess we're going. No, let's go. We want to go left. So let's go back to the left. So speaking of the other day, I know we had looked at the Epic Disney or Disney Epic Mickey, and I saw this pop up, and I was like, oh, that's another one of those, but from a different artist. So this is It's a Small World, for those that don't know, the ride. And it's like as if it's like it came to life, the ride itself. Kind of horrifying, not gonna lie. Like that iconic thing to have this weird energy, but I like it. We actually have, even here in the house, we've got a scent diffuser. I don't know what they're technically called, but like the little wax thing. And it is literally just It's a Small World, and it melts the wax, smells nice, and has like the little motion, little light to it. Very cute. We love It's a Small World here in this house. My mom actually, back at her house, she's got a bunch of It's a Small World stuff. That's like her favorite ride. And some more Asian themed stuff. Oh, you couldn't even see because the little image here, but there's a little itty bitty Mickey. Little mouse. Ooh, that's kind of creepy then. I don't like that. I like how the eyes here, small detail. Those eyes are the eyes in Haunted Mansion. Those are like the exact same kind of eyes that are like in the shadows. So that's cute, the idea of using those eyes for the general motif of how creepy eyes would work in a game. You know what I mean? Based on all Disney property for Mickey. I like that. I like that. Respect that. I don't know if anybody else would have caught that necessarily, but you know, I like when people put it in. Giggity. It was cute. This looks like Elemental then, kind of the energy. Okay, the concept of like how the brush, you'd see like the idea of it and how it would kind of build in. That's neat to see. Not ever ending up playing the game. I have no idea what I'm looking at with these little goober monsters, but this is a big art dump. Wow. Oh, and then speaking of small worlds, they clearly did a lot with this. This is like the hippo, but it looks like it's like a even more weird and malfunctioning. I really should play this game then. Like now that I wanted to play it when I was younger. Wanted to play it when it was remade, and then I never did either. So now I'm curious. Is it on Steam here? Is it just over here? What is it? Epic Mickey. Holy crap. It is a $60 game still. I kind of just assumed it would be cheaper than that at this point. But I did not realize, like, okay, never mind. It came out just last year. I swore it's been longer than that, but I guess my brain is just thinking of the old-ass game. Because the sequel, yeah, I'm thinking of the sequel, I guess, which came out in 2014. And then the original must have come out in, like, 2010, probably. Okay, well, let's add this to my, how do I add to wish list? Oh, this does look so good. Yeah, we need to play this. Very positive all throughout, too, reviews, which is nice. Yeah. Okay, when this goes on sale, we're getting it. And this might be, I haven't made time to play games on stream much, but this might be one that I have to stream. That's too good. Yeah. Okay. We doing that eventually. But yeah, not $60. Not $60. In my mind, that's like a 20. Not to diminish the art that went into it and all the work and stuff, but like in terms of my value proposition of financials, in terms of what I'd want to pay for games right now, in my mind, that's like, oh, when it hits like $20. When it hits like $20, we'll snag that. 100%. Okay, so they've done a lot. Okay, so they worked on Crash. This person has a lot more history behind their work, it looks like, too, which is nice to see. Really intense. Like overly, not overly detailed in a bad way, but just like a lot going on. Little teapot house, that's cute. I like it. Yeah, lots of interiors, lots of buildings, lots of weapons, lots of props. The character work's not bad. I like that. The rendering skills are nice. Like these look a lot better, honestly, than some of the epic Mickey ones they did, which is interesting. Yeah, these are cute things. Where are you from? You are from Austria. I am Jenny. Oh, so she actually did. Oh, wow, look at that. She doesn't have those pieces on here. But it says latest project worked on are Crash 4, Fortnite, and a couple other things. But the 3D environment art for Crash Bandicoot and 3D asset creation and skin concept art. I'd like to see what other pieces she did for Fortnite. Almost sucker for Fortnite. And also they made this their splash image, the small world. That's a good call. I like that. I'll give you a follow, Jenny. Jenny Bozek. All right, this was a set of Marvel covers, it said. Almost a year since my last update. Art station's banned in Malaysia for I don't know what reason. You can only get it with VPN. Weird. That sucks. I really like this piece, though, this Magneto. A whole lot. Not a fan of Miss Marvel's face there. I don't know what's going on. And I have not, this Blood Hunt, I have not read any of it, right? But you see the issues whenever you go to the comic shop, right? Like you always see the stuff. And so it's looked dope. And I'm hoping we get a trade paperback of that at some point, which I guess in my instance now, Blood Hunt Marvel trade paperback. Are we getting one? Is it here on Amazon? Is this the newest one? Blood Hunt 1 through 5. Oh, it's legit in stock. It's not even a pre-order. It's already out. How many how many issues are there, I wonder? Like is it just a 5-issue run? Now that it's come to a close, the main event starts and ends too quickly. I guess here, let's see. I love some weird comic stuff like this, and yeah, Blood Hunt 1 through 5, and then some tie-ins. Huh. Wild. For some reason, I kept seeing so many covers. I kept thinking it was longer of a run. That said, let's add this to my list. So, for those that don't know books and stuff like that, I like to get individual issues, right, of comics. I like to do that. But if I'm not getting the individual issues, not sometimes, I always get the trade paperbacks then if I really want it still. But the key with the trade paperbacks is you're not buying them at full price because that's heresy, my friend. What you do is you wait, Target and Amazon, and sometimes Barnes & Noble, but Barnes & Noble's whatever, you know. Target and Amazon do buy 2 get 1 free usually, pretty often, like every couple months. So what I'll do is I'll stack up a whole list of books that I want, and then when it's time, boom, buy 2 get 1 free. Go, 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 go. And what's cool with Target, spoiler, pro tip, you can buy 3 of the same book, and then you get the max discount, right? Because they're all the exact same price, right? All 3 are the same. And then you immediately go into the order and cancel 2 of them. And then you still get the discount per book. So it still comes out as the best deal. And then you get that book for a discount. So I can guarantee next time we get a buy 2 get 1 free, I will be getting Blood Hunt. But anyway, let's look back at Hale News, other stuff. I'm assuming lots of Marvel. Yeah. Lots of comic stuff then. Oh, Lots of bloody, creepy, gross comic stuff. Which, you know, it's not like my all-time favorite. Ooh, they did this last Ronin variant. I remember this one. That was pretty solid. Did he do the dunk? No way, this person did the Venom dunk. Hell yeah. That's great. I didn't realize it was this. 10 out of 10. This has been memed so hard in the world. I love it. All right. I had to ban somebody. Okay. More Ninja Turtle stuff. I remember this cover too. I read a lot of Ninja Turtles, so I guess I'm gonna remember a lot of these. Let's do the scroll. Yeah, let's see where they started. So how long ago is this? This is from 9 years ago. Very awkward looking, to be honest. Okay, so this was 11 years ago. The rendering isn't bad, but you can see so much growth, right? In like the anatomy, in the way that they handle some, like their shadows, like a lot of these. If you were to grayscale a lot of these are all very monochromatic. There's not enough darks to lights, right? Like it's weirdly flat. Like even here isn't that extreme. And I feel like that's something too that like as artists get more confident, I know I do it too, where it's like the more confident you get, the more you push stuff. Whereas like I'm sure if we scroll up now, they're gonna have. Ooh, let's keep going. Yeah, like if we scroll up, yeah, you can see their lights to darks have gotten a lot better. Like this is, I love this piece here, this Spider-Man cover. That's a great one. This is a fantastic cover. But yeah, okay. You know me, I can get lost looking at some of these artists too long. So let's just give them a follow. I hope whatever problems with Malaysia get resolved for them, because that sucks. Okay, so we had Ghost Rider from Evgeny Yurichev. A lot of people are doing this kind of stuff now where it's like, look, it's in Marvel Rival style, where like it's their own style in Marvel Rival style. Do you know what I mean? Like it's their own style, but then they like have the harsh, crazy rim light with the chromatic abrasion with like the blue in it too. So I like always seeing everybody's different interpretations of how these characters would exist. And Ghost Rider, not gonna lie, is pretty high on my list of someone I'd like to see in the game. He'd be a cool character. I can see him honestly fitting, obviously DP like a damage dealer, but I could imagine a world where he's pretty tanky too. I mean, you could even picture like a relatively mobile support where he does like damage boost instead of like healing stuff, more of a damage booster. But definitely probably DPS, unfortunately. And DPS we have a million of, so no thank you. Actually, I take it back. I don't want you. Okay, so their style, I don't know what their style reminds me of, but I love the source material that they're always clearly inspired by. Like they have a lot of stuff. Holy cow, this is a massive list of ArtStation stuff. I did not expect it to keep going. Personally, I hate when people do this. Like where it's like two pictures. I hate that. Because then what happens when it's over here? What happens if it's formatted weird? Don't like it. Don't like it one bit. But I love Mortal Kombat. And this person's got a lot of cool Mortal Kombat stuff. And then they continue to do more Mortal Kombat stuff. And like Kentaro, I think Kentaro's dumb. But this weird geometric version of Kentaro, pretty cool. Pretty cool. Yeah, I'm not quite sure how to put my finger on the way that they draw faces. It reminds me of something. It's very it's not my personal style that I vibe with the most, but it doesn't look bad. But it just reminds me of something that I cannot put my finger on. They've got Street Fighter. They've got some more Marvel stuff. They've got the Matrix. Oh, where was I scrolled so? This is such a. They've even got Chronicles of Riddick. You know the person's. All right, all right, all right, all right, all right. I'm a sucker for Chronicles of Riddick. Some Gears of War. Yeah, I really like that. Like, the more I look at this person's stuff, I wasn't like a huge fan of the faces, right? Something about these faces I don't like. It reminds me of like early 2000s, like something. Like, I don't know what. Which is bothering me. But the more I look at their stuff, like, yeah, their faces aren't my favorite, but I like the vibe, right? The overall vibe still really works. This person actually is doing a solid job with these. Yeah, here we go. These are the Mortal Kombat ones I wanted to peek. Okay, okay, okay. I swear there was a couple others before. They did the Street Fighter cast. Come on. Yeah, they got some good stuff. But yeah, let's look at these Mortal Kombat ones. I love Sindel. Such a cool. She's very. Again, a lot of the Mortal Kombat characters don't have like insane designs, right? Not a lot of them, at least, but like they just work, right? Like Liu Kang, nothing crazy. Sonya, nothing crazy. Like Jax is literally black dude with all metal arms. Like not even like crazy looking arms. They're just metal. Like, and like Goro is like dude with extra set of arms. Like, yeah, he's got a little bit more going on, but like they're nothing crazy, but they just work. Ooh, you don't see much Motaro. Motaro is like a centaur. Very cool. Okay, I like this stuff. I'm not gonna lie, when I saw the style of the faces, I was not like too stoked to see more about this person. But I kind of really dig it now. Now that I've given it, like, once it's set in, I'm vibing. I'm vibing with this. Where are you from? Russia. What a surprise. Not here in America. We don't know how to make art here. Yeah, these like life studies that they've done though, no, still those are not vibing because he's trying to, and even Battletoads, sorry. They're trying to keep like this weird angular style that they do, like very angular, and use it with people, and that's where I'm usually not a fan. Overall, cool. I like that. Okay, one last one, and we know my rule, right? The rule is if I see a Lorcana piece, I'm going to click on it without question. Like zero thought, clicking on it right away. Lorcana. Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. Does not matter. And I'm going to give it a like every time because it's Lorcana stuff, and it is gorgeous. So this is Carmine Pucci. Looks like they did a Troubadour, the little turtle bro. Honestly, not my favorite kind of card. This doesn't look that exciting, but I still love it. They're doing a new thing now where it's like dual types. You have to have both in the deck, like both types, both colors. I fell off after like the third set or something, playing, as I've said many times, but I look at the art plenty. What else? So I'm going to keep scrolling down until I don't see Lorcana. So I think that might have been their first Lorcana card up there. The Hercules one, to Find My Way, right? Yeah. I will find my way. I can go the distance. So good. Hercules, if you do not know, is one of my all-time favorite Disney properties ever. Oh, this is the first one they did. I missed this. Donald Duck. Cute. But yeah, Hercules somehow resonated with me always as a kid. It was just, you know, as a sucker for Dragon Ball and all those kind of things as a child too. Like, I love big, strong guys. And I was not a big, strong guy. And there's something about that story of finding greatness in you, right? Obviously, that was very extreme. He was a literal god or demigod. But finding the greatness in you. But then, I don't know, the overall message of finding the greatness in you wasn't the real strength. It was sharing it with someone else, right? And that just, I don't know, even as a kid, that just really resonated with me. And yes, I love the art. I love Hercules himself. I love Pegasus. I've always liked Greek mythology. Um, the songs hit on a different level for me too. It's just, yeah, I don't know. It's near perfection for me, for Disney. Like it is 10 out of 10. Speaking of another really good one though, with which has been seeing a lot more love now, which I'm grateful for, is Treasure Planet. Such an underappreciated movie in its time, I feel like. But yeah, if I start yapping about my Disney, we should make a Disney tier list, right? Like people always do tier lists. What if we do like a Disney tier list? Everything is 10 out of 10, S tier, if it's from the 90s at least, because nostalgia. So theirs aren't like, none of these cards that they've done are like crazy dynamic, but they're all clean. Like I like them. Like there's some really bonkers dynamic cards in the series, but these are all solid, clean pieces. What do they do normally? What is their lead background painter at Surfing Giant in Europe? I don't know what Surfing Giant is, but I'm assuming it is some sort of outsourcing studio based on their breadth of work. Again, it's interesting seeing like the early stages of artists. And honestly, the thing most people gravitate towards is the face, right? We all look at the face because that's what we as humans are gravitated towards. And it is always interesting to see how they evolve making faces, because like those earlier stages of how this person drew faces, kind of not my jam. But then they're slowly building into their own, way. Yeah, I don't know if their stuff is like follow for my favorite, but also still really cool. Again, Disney Lorcana, I just I have to. I love it. Do they have like a tag here for Lorcana? They do. I think I probably clicked on this before. Lorcana-esque Peter Miller. Okay, we're looking at just a couple more. Yeah. Every time we pull this kind of stuff up, I get distracted, and you know what? That's fine. Okay, never mind. Too much. I cannot. I must not. I shall not. So let's get, where is, I'm gonna pull this off. Just that armor. I just wanted to pull up those images that I had of the armor again. I don't remember. Oh, here they are. Cool. Just so we've got these guys up. So I have a couple. I can open 2 instances actually. So I'll have like this one and this one. Just to have a couple things up, as I like to do on the side of the stream here. And then this one will be here. You guys won't be able to see this one later, but you can know it's there in spirit, and that's okay. Cool. So we've got those guys up. So spoiler alert, yes, I wanted to finish my Monster Hunter piece today. Excuse me, the game comes out, I think technically tonight. Again, I've not been as try as I might, I cannot get into Monster Hunter. I just can't do it. Like the reason I played it before was because it was with friends, and it was a good time with them. And again, on paper, man, on paper, I should love Monster Hunter, I feel like. Like if I were to, if you break down like how the game is and all those kind of things, like I should love it. I just don't. I really don't. Like the gameplay wise, I love a lot about it, but not the gameplay. But yeah, anyway, that doesn't mean we're not going to finish ours today. So I did do a little bit more off stream yesterday afternoon, or morning. Technically, I think I did it in the morning before I kind of got started and did anything. Which, speaking of, what I did not do this morning, I did not play Marvel Rivals. I learned my lesson, right? Fool me once, shame on me. You know what I mean? Since on Tuesday when I decided to squeeze one game in, it was one of the worst games I've had with the most hectic nonsense team and all this. So, you know what? I said, not today, Not today, Satan. That doesn't mean I'm not itching to play tonight when I give myself, I'll play after my girlfriend goes to bed. I've got time. After gym and dinner and all that kind of stuff. I will probably squeeze in a little bit after stream. I'll probably have lunch. Maybe start a load of laundry. I actually don't know what we've got. Get dishes situated. And then play maybe a game or two of Marvel and then go for a walk because it's like, again, 40-some degrees out, which, does not sound absolutely fantastic. I understand this. But again, for me, that's fantastic. Like 40-some, that's good. I can work with that. Okay, so drawing time means chocolate time. So it looks like YouTube's doing fine. Like I said, I had to reset the whole system, which was a pain in my butt. And I still don't know why I did that. I'm going to look up. I mentioned it yesterday, right? Lord of the Rings. Lo-fi. I don't know who I listened to of theirs before. I really liked it. Chilbo Baggins. All right, you know what? I don't know what else they have for sure. But if your name is Chilbo Baggins, we're going to have to listen to it. So. Can we hear this fine? Looks like the levels are okay. I am such a sucker for a good name, like a pun like that. Chilbo Baggins? Come on. Oh yeah. Oh yeah, I'm feeling my Chilbo. My boy Baggins. Okay, so let's look at the art. The art that we're making here today, right? Oh, actually, it looks like I can almost squeeze this. Hold on, sorry. I'm looking at the stream feed right now. It looks like you can kind of squeeze this at this size still, so you can see it like this, right? There. Now you can, on stream, see, a whole lot more of these characters broken down, right? Cool. Yeah, I'm not a fan 100% of how I've got my stream layout for art set up. It's not like the most fantastic, but I don't know how else to do it, was my problem. So this is the way it is. Like, that's all we got. If we grow and get bigger, I wanted to have maybe like, I wanted that little space that's in between my head and my display to be like the chat. But, chat doesn't seem to be active enough to really make that a thing yet. But hopefully once I get the ball rolling with more YouTube and grow my content elsewhere, it can do that. But anyway, so last time on BrittonDraws, we looked at our girl here. So I did a good amount actually, if you notice from last stream, like quite a bit actually. And what I did to recap was so one thing was this texture here, like these little divots. I didn't have divots on the pants like I did the legs. And one of my friends noted, like, why is it like that? And I was like, I assumed it was because the pants were more of like a material that had that textured pattern, whereas the legs were like the shins were actual like shin guards. But I understand the confusion there, and that doesn't look great then, right? So I was like, you know what? I'll give them a little bit. So you can see there's a little bit of cut in now to make it feel like they're actual scales. I went through obviously and painted a whole lot. Like I didn't change a lot of the sketches, but I painted a lot. So I added more of this like I added this lacy pattern, right, for the mesh, the lace. I added like an overlay here onto them so it looks like it's an actual like other thing, not just exposed skin. I made her boobie a little bigger, and by bigger I just mean like exposed that space more. And just did a lot of painting, right? I added a lot of color to the and values and stuff to the the scales, the armored piece, right? I did a lot more on the skin, did a lot on the silver, did a lot of the sword. The big thing I really need to do now, which isn't too much, is just like final touch up overall. But then certain things that just don't look great, I'll need to adjust. But then also, obviously, like the smaller pieces, like none of the red, none of the bone, and none of the shoes have the values like nicely painted on. So today is that. I just wanted to do those kind of things. So the focus would be to let's turn off. First off, I always say turn off the overlay, right? Gotta throw that one off, the gradient, because the gradient, as you can see, not a whole lot, but it changes the values enough that when I color pick, I'd rather not have that be a part of it. Ugh. So let's like I said, everything's been painted on a single layer. Like each individual color has its own layer. Not all one massive layer. But in terms of highlights and shadows and all those kind of things, those are all done on one layer. And it's been weird, but I think I've gotten the hang of it. Like you can see here, all of this was just one. Obviously, there's some overlying, like some top level things that I get overwritten then. So like if you see there was value under there, but boop, I just painted over it. What I wanted to do was, as I was looking at this, the shadow. So we see our shadow layer here. These heavy blues, right? I didn't like, because I redid the breast, right, to open it up. But I realized I didn't add any of this, like, strong blue. So it feels not as cohesive. So I just want to add a little bit of this to where there'd be like the most ambient occlusion shadow, right? This nothing crazy. I don't want to overdo it. As we were talking about, overdoing sometimes when it comes to skin, that's when it look like you can quickly look very ugly if you overdo certain values on skin. And overdoing the blue value on skin, that is very easy to do, and then very bad. it no good. Adding a little bit, nothing crazy, but again, I feel like it just didn't match the rest of the image. Now that, again, we always say, take a step back, right? Look back at what you're doing rather than just look back at what you did and what you're impacting, not just what you're doing in the moment. So if there's all this blue needs to exist as well on other points. So I still want, like, how here I have like this dark blue, like more thick, right? So let's go here. I don't know. It might be that I've got some sort of layer above it that's messing with it. I'm actually not quite sure why I feel like that color's not coming through the way I'd like it to. I mean, we can be crazy and just do the actual... Oh, it's coming in more purple. That's why, for some reason. Let's make it more blue. So this is the problem. Normally what I like to do is I'll make a palette where I'll paint stuff on the side, right? Just like an actual paint palette. So I have the actual color, essentially, that I'm working with. But I didn't do that here. So unfortunately, I'm suffering from not being able to get this same color again. And I have to just kind of recreate it, which isn't the worst. But for consistency's sake and just ease, right? It's a lot better if you just have your little side thing you just brush on real quick, like one stroke here and there, just to give ease when you're coming back to it. This line of this boob looks weird now. I'm going to change this real quick now that I'm like honed in on it. So let's go back to, what I'm going to do too is I need to redo my brushes, like my library set here. Cause there's too many things that I've been changing lately and all these things. Like I don't need all of, I want them in a different order. I don't need all the things that are here. So I'll probably like duplicate this library set and do a little bit of adjusting, but obviously that's not important at the moment, but just thinking for my own, like I definitely need to do that because organization when I'm making art, if everything's out of whack, it's hard to, like taking one extra step sometimes is enough to throw you off. So I'm not making any like drastic changes here with this. It was just, it curved a little too hard in now that we exposed more of the other breast. So that looks better. So let's look at the bone now. The bone shouldn't cause too much, right? There's not much going on with any of these, but where's the layer? So as usual, since we're working with just one, right? Just a single layer, I alpha lock it. So nothing else, everything that I've already painted on it is all we're going to see, right? Nothing extra, nothing more, nothing less, right? So if we normally here, let's look at the bone color, which is just like an ivory-ish white, but does have a little bit of red to it. Let's do the opposite because we're going to do some shadow, right? Let's do some shadow first and make it a little bit of blue and then darken it a smidge. As usual, we slap it on and see what it looks like. I like that. That actually works pretty well, that color. Again, finding the right color is one of those things that just, there's no like catch-all, right? It's just practice and understanding over time. And then it'll eventually be like, yep, this is what this is what it should be. And then you just do it like that and hey, it is, right? There's no mystery to it, but the more you do anything, the better you get. As I would say, the more reps you put in, right? Everything's about the reps. So what I've been doing lately with this piece in particular that I kind of like, right? So I'm taking this gouache brush. This is more of like a bristle, gritty, very gritty, right? I'm like lightly putting in where I want the shadow. Just kind of shaping the form a little bit, right? Because like already we get a little bit of form with just this little, like I didn't do much, right? I just kind of slapped on a tiny bit of color. But already with those bones, we get an idea of the form already, which is fantastic. And then once I have that, then I'll go in and I'll start being more deliberate and clean with things. But for the first pass, I've been enjoying this gritty toothy brush here that I just slap on. It gives it a little bit of texture. It gives it a nice initial idea, right? I like having a first pass of what is the form, right? So like here, again, we know where the light's coming from. So these bones, these teeth, whatever they are, would be in shadow, right? Whereas the others would just be being hit with the light on the top. I think there really isn't that much of this color, right? Just those couple bone pieces, and yeah, I think that's it. So after that first initial push, right? So I guess what we can do, since we've talked about it, moving forward right now, what I can do is I can do my little thing, right? So this is the shadow, right? This is the shadow. And like, here, let's grab more of a more pure. This is the base, right? So this is what I like to do so that I know when I go back to color pick, yes, I like changing the colors, especially with skin. Because you want to have a lot. There's so many different colors are reflected in our skin that just, yeah, that's not just peach or red or whatever. So I do like having variation, but for certain things like this, it does help to be like, okay, this is base color, this is this, especially when you're working destructively the way I am, where it's all on one piece, right? If you had the shadows on another layer and you can turn off the shadow layer and color pick from below, that's fine. Like, you don't really need to do this. But the way I'm doing it, it kind of, I don't want to say it's a necessity, but it definitely helps. So we'll do the same thing now though, and then now look, we're keeping the warmer color and going lighter, but a little warmer. So we'll see again how this looks. Get back to, now I want to do the shader because I want the bone to have a little bit more of like a, oh, that's not what I want to do. Why is this? Oh crap, I'm on the new, here, let's rename this palette. I'll go back, okay. Very easy to get mixed up. So again, though, since everything's organized, like, do we see how like I'm doing this? And because I have everything so organized, even though I'm doing it all in one layer, like I'm only touching the parts I need. So you can be messy and clean at the same time, which is kind of amazing for how I like to do things. So right now, I'm just looking at a little bit of like a targeted highlight area, right? Like, where would the light actually be hitting the hardest? And for here, if you notice, it's not a lighter color necessarily, right? That bone is not being like, I didn't take and make it more white and make it necessarily exactly more bright. No, what I did was I actually made it a little more red and saturated the color just a smidge. And then it still reads by contrast as a highlight on there, right? So give this tooth like a little bit of like the light's coming in, like a little bit of a rim, right? But since this is like a 3D object, let's say the highest point is actually not on the edge. It's maybe like up here. But then since this one's turned away from us, it would be the edge facing the light that would probably be being hit with the most highlight. So you see 3 colors real quick. When you zoom in, it doesn't look like anything amazing, but why are you zooming in that close? From here, boom, all of a sudden that reads. So simple. It's everything looks like it takes more than it does, I feel like when you really start breaking things down, like, you don't have to be crazy with it. But again, it just comes with time and understanding and all of these things. So what I'm going to do here, since this is like a big round shape, presumably, right? I kind of want to give like the rim a little bit. And now I'm going to go back over in a sec once I get back to it. So right now, I'm just going back here. This is heavily in shadow, right? Pretty much this hand. So I don't want to do too much. I just want to like hit it with like a couple pops of color of this highlight, because the way light refracts and bounces everywhere, it's not like something like that would be in pure shadow, right? It's still all over. But now let's look at the foot, the calf teeth. I don't know what we're calling these, but doing the same thing here. Since this is pretty distinctly one angle, we're giving this nice highlight here. Again, I can't stress enough that like this highlight, I didn't just do white. This highlight is basically just red, right? I just went more red. And we really need to hone in on that kind of stuff, because so much of color theory is not like, you look at so many people who are starting out and it's like your brain, I did it too. I'm not saying so many people as in like I'm greater than that. No, it's when you see someone not make mistakes, it's because you didn't see them make 10,000 mistakes before, right? And I'm making mistakes still. I'm not saying I'm not, but like that's one thing I feel like people always need to remember. You see the not mistake phase, right? You skipped the entire like, hey, I make mistakes left and right phase. So right here, this is just a nice little visual. So the bone color, right? The shadow color on the bone, and then the highlight. Very different colors, right? You've got a bluish purple, you've got a reddish color, and then you have this more almost brown, but not quite. But all of them, if you look at this, your eye's cool with that, right? Like those all fit together. And that's kind of how we handle a lot of like color and light on our own forms. That like they are usually pretty drastically different, but it just works, right? And that's kind of what this palette showcases, where we have these three quite different colors for the bones that we're painting, but they all coalesce into what looks like the correct values for this bone. But so what I want to do now is, since I have the highlights and I have all of that, I'm going to take this one and I'm going to just do like a really light grit over the paint then, just to kind of normalize the fact that it's the bone. If anything, I'll maybe desaturate it a little more. And then really, really small, right? Just kind of very, very light pass over these, just to kind of grit it up a smidge more, especially on something like this. Because again, this is bone. It's not going to be like super clean, right? You're not working with cloth or something like that, or armor that has like a little bit more cleanliness to their nature. This is a little grittier. So this lightens it a little bit in the process. So what I'm doing is just giving like an itty bit of rim on these guys so they don't feel so dark. But then if you notice, like all I'm doing, it doesn't look like much, right? But then when I undo it, you see there's a difference, right? It's that weird thing of like your eye doesn't catch it, but then when you undo it and redo it, it just kind of unifies these colors a little bit and softens the connection. So what you could do is you could like smudge everything, right? But then you're just kind of cleaning it in a way where if you make it too clean, it feels like you're smudging it. Whereas like right here, what I do is I'm just taking a larger version of the same one of those brushes and kind of like mixing the colors with that brush, right? By taking that slightly desaturated version of the base, it just kind of cleans it all together without having to, because like, okay, so I'll show, like that's way too much, but like if I were to do this, let's say, right, if I grab the smudge and all of a sudden I just try and smudge everything, one, this takes longer, right? But also you can tell it's being smudged even with this type of brush, like it has that feel. Whereas if I just do what I'm doing, it still has the initial feel of the paint, but it just feels like a little bit less intense, which is all I want. So down and dirty, quick and easy here. That's the bones, right? That's it. That's all we needed. This spot is ugly. I need to I knew this was going to be a point of contention. I remember when I was drawing this, I'd vocalized it, I remember. But let's see if we can just kind of give it a little bit of negative space here instead. And I'm going to make this a little bit smaller. Don't mind me completely shifting gears here for a moment, like I always seem to do anyway. It's like my thing. Not to be confused with The Thing in Marvel Rivals, that I also is my thing. Yeah, I got the trench coat skin because I've been playing him so much. His game plan is just his moment to moment like loop is just really fun. For those that don't know or frankly don't care, but you're gonna hear it anyway. The Thing is a tank in Marvel Rivals. He's got like a very brawlery kit where he like gets in, gets out, gets in, gets out, and he does like so much pressure, which is very fun. So I've been playing him a good amount, but you can't, unfortunately, nobody wants to play tank, I feel like. And he does not do well as the only tank. So if I'm going in solo queue and I'm the only tank, I don't know if I can pull off being Ben. He's more what's referred to as an off tank, where it's like you kind of can't be the primary because your goal is to assist rather than be the primary defender, right? You're assisting the defense, you're assisting the healers, and you're causing like havoc rather than being like Doctor Strange or Magneto or somebody who's being a more like traditional tank to help take the damage, help mitigate and kind of move the team. But anyway, okay. So that looks a little better. That little bit of space I deleted now. It just was tangenty. I always complain about that. Okay, so I think those bones, those were quick, right? Nothing fancy, but that worked. So in that same vein, since we just did the bone, this little bit of like wrap texture can be next, right? Does not need much because this brown, I stupidly should have made it the same brown as these shoes actually, which I guess I can still do. Well, let's do that actually. Where are the shoes? Let's combine these two layers, okay? Merge down. So now these browns, there's no need to have two separate brown colors. Let's make it this more grayish brown. Because sometimes when you add too many colors, it's just needless, especially on something like this. We're already adding color by the variation of paint and highlights and all these things. So why, right? And if we look at this, it's not much of a difference anyway. This is the brown that we had. And this is the brown that's now, right? I'm going to turn it on and off. And you tell me if you can even really see it on stream, right? That is such a minimal difference. But again, just for sake of unifying all of our pieces here with color, I think that reads well. And then now when I paint, I can just do it all on one thing. I don't need to swap between two different things. So we already have like this darker color established, right? So if we go up to our palette again, since I, discussed it, we'll keep up with the palette just for our own sake. If this is the base color, right? And we've already kind of established a shadow color to an extent. So if this is kind of the other color, but I don't like it exactly like that. So again, let's make it more blue because these are shadows, right? Pull up a little bit so we see more of the blue. And this is going to be the shadow. And now since we're here, we can take a peek and let's just kind of, it's already more in the red scale. So let's kind of look at, I'm making it a little more red, just a little bit more saturated. I mean, right? Just a tad bit more so that we see color in the light, right? It's not a dull color. Most light that we see, especially in nature, is not white. It's yellow, it's orange. It's, when people, you associate light with white. But again, I've got my two key lights here in front of me. One is a little blue, right? That's a blue one to balance out my shadows. But that one is like straight up orange. Because that's the color of light, like more natural light. So make it a little more red. Let's see how this looks then. Maybe a little lighter even on top of this. And boom, now we can see all of these colors. And before you even put the colors down, you can look at this and you're like, yep, those look good, right? Like those values read together. Which is always important. So as a rule of thumb, if you're trying to just focus on color instead of anything else at first, you know, like with the first step of color, is kind of doing stuff like this. Like if you start painting it on already, you're committing a lot, right? Painting is a commitment, especially if you're working like this where I'm doing one destructive layer where I just can't like undo anything or take off a layer, right? If you do a little palette, you can immediately see if this doesn't work. Your eye will tell you. You might not know exactly why it doesn't work, but your eye will know it's not right. Because again, looking at this, your eye just reads those colors together and it looks right. And you look at these and it looks right. And so long as you're at least in that range, then you can go from there. But so making the palette is useful in many ways, basically. That said, the little bits of brown that we do have are really small. There's not that much, especially up here. So I don't even think I'm going to do my normal like first pass of the grit because there's not enough space. So I'm just going to kind of go in right away with a darker, and this might be where I get a little more smudgy just because by the nature of the space, it doesn't really allow for much other than this, right? It's little. We don't have a whole lot of room to work with. I'm making sure I'm giving shadow in terms of where it would exist, both on from the light, but then the like here, the ambient occlusion that would exist on the lower strap of these things, right? And then where the bone connects to the wrap itself. And then back here, I'm just gonna kind of put most of this in shadow because it kind of is, right? This back strap here. Give a little bit of not shadow, but most of that arm is heavily in shadow as is, so I kind of wanted to keep that, right? There's just like a little hint of not. And technically, a lot of these colors, I understand, yes, should have been like, these wraps should have been on the sword. But I didn't, and I made them more of the sketch, and I kept it that way, and I like it that way, so I'm not changing it. But anyway, so immediately, just that one pass of shadow, you could say that's enough, almost. Like, right there, like, yeah, that looks good. I believe it. I believe in a thing called shadow. But the foot is a little bigger, so we can give a little bit more breathing room to the foot. So I think we'll go back to our bristle, our general trend of how we do things, right? So let's try it here and give it a big swoop off the rip. And so I'm even going over the other brown, the darker brown that already exists, and then we'll see how that looks. I'm not 100% on how I want to handle this guy, but just think of when not knowing what to do, just pop in where you know, right? Like you know there'd be ambient occlusion here from the connecting of the boot to this like ankle shin guard thing, right? You know the ground would be hella dark, right? The base of this foot would be pretty dark. And you know possibly at the tip of the foot, since if you think of a shoe, right? A shoe has a relative cutoff at the toe. So if you think of that being pushed away from the light, if there's a cutoff down, that's probably going to have less light hitting it because it's a noted plane shift, right? So when we look at colors and look at highlights and look at shadows, we look at plane shifts, and the tip of a toe on a shoe has a plane shift, right? Because you're going from the ridge of the foot to the toe that can connect to the ground then. So just slapping in a little bit of that. We'll do the same thing over here. So this one will be even more in shadow though, right? Because a lot of this foot's like very far away from the light source the way we've drawn it. So giving a little bit of ambient occlusion as we always do here, touching the bone part. And then I did overdo it. I was a little heavy handed. So what I can do is I like to grab a smudge and pull in, right? So I'm going from outside of the piece in. So what that's doing is trying to pull the little bit of the base color back a little bit, which, as you can see, just a little. I didn't need a whole lot. It just was getting too overpowered there. But then it looks, I don't like always having too much smudge, so I like to kind of draw back a little bit of that texture. Okay, so that looks good. Now we have our highlight color, right? So we can go back in, get our more of a shader, narrowed down, smaller brush that I like to use here. And since we're working on this tiny space, now we can slap this in where the light would be hitting. And this is like a leather, right? Or some sort of base material. So the way light reflects off of that isn't like, it's not metal, right? Like metal has very clean edges. Material like this is usually pretty varied. So adding in like a little bit of variation works in an instance like this, because that's just the nature of how the material works, right? So knowing the material helps dictate what you should be painting and how you should be painting it. Completely random. So one of my best friends does his Scotty talks, right? He loves Scotty Young. And I feel really crappy. I did not watch his live stream yesterday. I was going to, but yesterday I got so busy with Monday I do all my cooking for the week, and oh wait, not Monday. I'm sorry, it was Wednesday. But Wednesday I ended up having to do a lot of cooking still, and a bunch of other things. My little sister called because she's got some stuff going on with her move. But I never ended up watching the live stream that I totally wanted to watch yesterday of his. Fudge. I'm gonna add this right now. Just so we can see. It's this. It is Scotty Talk with Tyler and Dustin. I apparently hadn't been subscribed, but yeah, they do a lot of like different things. Every Wednesday is when they stream their stuff, but this time they actually had Scotty Young on. And I don't know what playlist this would go under. I have WL for watch later. Let's call this one art. This is art related, so watch later art. Yeah, I totally need to listen to this. I am very sorry that I didn't tune in live the other night. I totally friggin' spaced. But yeah, we'll get to that. We'll watch that today maybe, or I'll listen to that when I go for my walk today. Cool. Anyway, completely random thought as I was painting. My bad. But yeah, just adding in a little bit of these highlights. I think right here, yeah, like, and we zoom out and like, that looks pretty good. What I want to do is do a single pass on this bigger spot of the more bristly brush and maybe go against the grain. Just to like, this is my way of blending, like we said, right? This is kind of blending in such a way that like this material is variable. It's a leathery strap, right? So it's kind of have variability to it. So adding just that extra little oomph kind of works. Let's go back down to the foot, the other spot of the brown color. And here I kind of want to play with like, there's an actual like hole to the foot, right? So we'll see a little bit more of a notable like, oh, there's actual, I don't want to call it highlight per se, but like, because it's not necessarily a huge highlight, but just a little bit of value there like that. So I think that looks good. We'll do the same thing here, not too much on her left foot, because again, it's pretty far back, but just giving a little bit to the heel and then the strap. So if two objects are touching each other, right, and you have them both in shadow, it's hard to tell what's in front of the other one. But if you give a little bit of highlight to the one that's in front of the other, that kind of tells the viewer that like, hey, this one's got a little, this one's a little forward, right? It's just a little bit. It doesn't do much, but it's just that little smidge forward. So again, I'm going to take my big bristle and kind of just slap on right there. That looks good. I don't want like a highlight on the toe, but I want to kind of balance out a little bit of the lighter color here. So I'm just going to kind of slap on that. And then same thing with this strap. We added that little bit of highlight, but it feels too harsh. So if I just paint in a little bit of a gradient, it feels more natural. I'm going to do the same thing on her other foot here that we did, just really, really lightly. Like if you could see the pressure my hand is like touching is minimal. I'm barely even making pressure, barely making contact. Just enough to kind of help get that color everywhere, but just enough to help blend it. So now I feel like we almost course corrected a little bit too heavy. So now I can go back, take the base color, right? Now that we did the highlights and the shadows, if I take the base color and do that same idea, just like a slight grit on top of the base color, it's like that color's popping through, right? Which is the way it should. And then now I'm going to go back in one more time and hit these shadows again a little harder, because doing all of that, we kind of eliminated some of the darks that we wanted. And so to get those back after the fact, just add a little bit more back in and we should be good. So now, again, I'm not trying to make the foot look anything amazing, just making sure it fits in space. Same with these straps, nothing crazy, but they fit in space now. Cool. So browns are done. Speaking of the color brown, is chocolate technically brown, right? Beats chocolate. I'm digging this Chilbo Baggins music, by the way. Lo-fi Lord of the Rings. I like it. Oh my God. This whole time I forgot to switch back. I'm an idiot. I'm so sorry. You've got to be kidding me. Well, now you can see what I was talking about that last like 5 minutes. I totally forgot to switch back the camera to the iPad after I had my random break. So you can see what I was talking about. I think I've talked about it enough that it's not like, even if you didn't see it in action, you knew. So there's a couple things now that I'm looking at that I do kind of want to... What I'm going to do, I think, after everything is done, is I'm going to go in and add like an actual shadow. Everything's feeling kind of samey right now, and I really want to add some heavy shadows in. Normally I do that with my inking, right? I do really thick ink. I'm not doing that on this piece, and so looking at this, some of the pieces don't stand out enough. So I'm going to add another shadow pass after everything is done. For now, though, we're just getting the form and the shapes to everything, and that's okay. But I definitely want to add an actual shadow pass after, because certain things aren't set off. Like there's not enough dark here, right, to denote where the difference is. There's not enough dark here to denote the like a lot of basically like a really tight ambient occlusion pass is what I'm thinking. So that is not for right this moment. We're getting now, the only last color is red, right? We don't have any of these reds. And the red is an interesting one here because the red exists as like 4 different materials, the way I've drawn it, right? The red is like part of this cloth on her leg. The red is this like solid chunk of a knee pad mass. It also is then paint on top of 2 different materials, the metal as well as the sword, which is another metal but a little different. It's this inner part of the metallic ear, and then it's also this like strap. So there's a lot of variations of how we need to address the red. So normally paint is, it'll be scratched out first and foremost on certain pieces, right? It won't be super clean, so we will need to give a little bit of like very light erasing to it. But also, it is very shiny, right? It's very shiny compared to other material, especially like the cloth. So this red on the metal per se would have more highlight, right? Just a little bit more. Whereas like down here, it won't have as strong of a highlight. So that's just something to keep in mind. We're going to go to our palette though, that we've been working with, right? Let's grab our palette and let's make up some colors then. So we can grab our red. So this is going to be the base red. That is very large. Base red, okay? Now we want a shadow to the red. So as we do, we'll make it a little bit cooler of a color. Not like, maybe not too cool. And let's darken it a smidge. So it's going to be a little bit more of like a purpley color, right? And now let's go and think of for the highlight. It's already pretty red, right? So we don't need to do, we'll go a little bit more saturated, but a little bit lighter. I don't know if I like this yet. No, yeah, I need to go a little bit lighter than that. This. Okay. And then what I want to do on top of that is because it's some of the other materials going to have like a more of an actual like highlight. I want a slightly less saturated, really bright red to go for that. So that would be that color then. So to kind of feel this out, it would look somewhat like this. Again, the purple always looks, the darker shadow color does kind of stand out a little bit. So we'll see if I don't like that, but for now we'll try it and see where that takes us. So go back to one of our 1,000 layers here, the red. And we will do everything we've been doing, right? We're going to treat everything the same for the shadows at first, just to place them in space, right? So understanding where the paint is and how all of that is working, that's fine. Sorry, I shouldn't look at my phone. I get distracted. I normally don't. But so let's look here. We've got the red layer. We've got our purple picked, right? We've got our brush, our little grit. And so easiest way to do it too is I already drew in a lot of these shadows by just hatching, right? So we can just slap in right on those, right? First step doesn't really require much thinking if you've already done the thinking previously. So we can just kind of slap in a little bit, get a vibe of how this purple will look. It seems a little extreme, but not really, right? Like when you zoom out, it kind of works. And since everything there's the purple wrap, I kind of like it. Feeling a little bit, yeah, so here this is heavily in shadow, right? So I'm kind of just giving a slight purple texture to it overall. I'm not like giving it an exact shadow anywhere. I'm just making the whole thing kind of in shadow so it feels like it fits there. And again, since we have all of our colors, we can always pull back later. But for now, just kind of slap in where you think the shadows would be. But definitely we'd have shadows up here by there's a lot of other pieces here, so it would obviously be getting contact with that, with all those shadows, but then it does kind of bleed into the lighter color there. Because again, if we remember the light source we are imagining is like right here, like kind of like above the sword. So obviously this part would still get a decent amount of light. The ears, I don't know if excited's the word, but like I've been most looking forward to doing the ear part in this red, just because it's, for the longest time, it's felt so not fitting with everything else. Like this part has been void of value. So I'm excited to finally make this feel cohesive with the rest of the head. So there are like these ridges, so I do want to accentuate them, but not like overly, right? I'm like graphically putting in like hard color there. Just enough that you can see that there's some sort of variation in shape and like it moves along that, right? Finally, there's some color in there. Not the most amazing, but at least feels like it exists in space, not just this weird red blob that's been there for way too long. It's been a while. Man, this piece talking about shadows, this piece has been so jarring for me. This chunk of metal on her hip, I don't like it. Hopefully when I add some more shadows, it'll make that look better. So now to think of the paint, right? So the paint, and these little things. I totally forgot about these too. These would be largely just, in my mind, in shadow, right? There's not that much that would be catching light with these. So I'm just going to kind of curve around the body here and give some shadow to all of the tighter spaced ones, and then kind of that reads. And then now the paint. So the paint still will exist in space with shadow, but again, they're going to have a little bit more highlight, and it'll definitely, like I said, I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to go through, turn off the alpha lock, and then like scrape away a little, right? It's really clean right now, which isn't the way paint on armor especially would appear, right? There's no way paint on armor is that clean. And it doesn't feel like paint then, because it's like there's no way it's 100%. So some of these, just slapping that. Up here on the sword, this is largely highlight, right? The sword. So I'm just going to add like a very light bit here just to feel like there's some texture on it, right? Not much, just a little bit of texture over the whole thing, just for the sake of doing it, to make it feel more unified. So now that we've got that, keep in mind that light color was for the highlight on the paint, not on the armor, like the cloth goods. The cloth goods aren't going to see that strong of a highlight, right? If you imagine if someone's wearing a sweatshirt like I am, and then they have a necklace on top of it, if the necklace is also the same color as the sweatshirt, the necklace is going to have the highlight, right? The shirt will have like a soft light, a softer color to it for sure, because it's going to catch light, but it's not going to refract and reflect the light so heavily like a metal or other sort of material, like a metal. I don't know what other type of word I was trying to think of other than metal. But so now that we're going to get the slightly lighter color, I'm going to crank this down a little bit to the other brush, right? And we've got the little bit of edges I want to kind of just highlight real quick before doing other things. So since this is kind of like a fold in the pant, I almost want to do something like that where I'm alluding to like a highlight, a lip fold, but not as heavy-handed as I had just first done it. But so these strong plane shifts are where usually light catches the most, right? So this strong plane shift on the edge of the knee pad is where we'll see a lot of highlight, because that's where the brunt of it is caught, and then it folds over the rest of the form. Fold in the cheese, right? Just fold it in. So I know everyone was wondering my food, right? So normally I eat, as we've talked about, I'll eat on the old streams. I would eat right after I stream, right? That's when I'd have my lunch, which was fine. I was always hungry already, though, at that point, by lunchtime for me. And now that I've extended the stream to be until 2:30 my time, which is even later, obviously, that's past when I would normally eat lunch. And I still have my little chocolates, of course. I'm not an animal. But with the chocolates, then I was trying to figure out how I would eat lunch. And the one thought that girlfriend noted that I didn't think would work, but I was like, well, I'll try it, is instead of having lunch at lunchtime, since my quote unquote breakfast is just like a bar, a protein bar, why not have the protein bar during stream instead? Which the logic there, perfectly sound, right? But also, it doesn't work that way. So my lunch is bigger, right? It's a lot more food. It's a lot heavier. It's more liquid because it's the almond milk, it's the protein powder, it's bananas, it's PB2, it's more almond milk, it's some cereal, it's all these things, right? There's a good amount to it that I get really full from it, right? Like it's a good, hearty, middle of the day kind of meal for me, which is what it's supposed to be. The problem with that is that it's filling. And I'm sitting here for hours and I literally on Tuesday kind of felt like I was going to puke because I just had so much food sitting in my gut and it just wasn't fun. And so I said I would play with it and figure out what I want to do. And I'm going to try again what I tried the very first time, which is just, I normally have like a nut health bar thingy as like a snack after lunch, after like a couple hours after lunch usually. And I was like, well, I'll try and have that at, 1:30, 2 o'clock. So then right after stream at 3 o'clock, once I'm done cleaning stuff up, 3 o'clock, then I can actually have my normal lunch. I don't think it'll hold me over great, but I think it's like that middle ground of it's not perfect, but it's better than the other kind of energy. But we shall see, because it's already noon right now. So by that logic, if I eat like another piece of chocolate in like 15 minutes, then I eat the bar an hour-ish after, then I should be good. Or I should be not good and I'll complain and you'll all hear about it. What a mystery, right? Who knows? Who knows? But what I do know is I forgot to add some sort of grit and shadow to these parts on the helmet of the red. But I'm already doing the highlight right now, so I'll come back to that. We'll put a pin in that till later kind of deal. Though later will be in just like 2 minutes. So here's where I really want to kind of play with more of this highlight now coming into the sword. Because this is the edge of the sword, right? It's going to be bright compared to the rest. It's getting hit with this light. So I'm probably going to do a lot of that light red on this piece then. And just like the shadows for this like curvature piece of the inner part of the ear, I kind of want to do the same thing on this end where the highlight's kind of curving in, right? So it feels like it's got a little bit more form to the shape rather than just being flat. So giving that little bit of curve helps sell that there's shape to that form rather than just, it's not for show, right? Like it's not just line work that I've done. These are actual like bits of plane changes slightly. Because again, plane changes you can't necessarily illustrate always in line work as easily, but you can usually kind of pump it and push it with your highlights and shadows. I really wanted this red to kind of pop. So on the ear, because it's such a big spot, I think it looks cool. So I still want a good amount of variation here. But I want this color to feel like it's like really like a powerful bit of thing, coming out. Powerful bit of thing. You heard it here, folks. Fantastic vernacular coming from this guy. So since we're working with I already switched back to the shadow color, didn't I? So I can give this a little bit of grit then, like we talked about. These little the parts here that I skimped over on accident. So let's not even put any shadow, right? I'll put shadow on this part because that's actually in pretty heavy shadow. But then I'm not even going to put any on the parts facing the light on her other part of the helmet. So as we can see, this slight gradation sells that one's a little bit more in shadow. Kind of like this part here, right? These like little circle tassel parts. Just a little bit of movement of color. Just a bit. So I laid out my timeline for chocolate and when I'd eat. But you know what? I mentioned the word chocolate and there's one piece left sitting here. I can't not eat it. I gotta. So don't mind me. My last Dove chocolate for stream. What is the phrase on this one? Don't be afraid to start a new chapter. How nice. I have not read a book in too long. Speaking of like starting new chapters and books, I read comic books. That's about it. My friends have been reading. Well, my one good friend, well, he already had read this one series of books, and the other one's now reading it, and they're all talking about it in the one chat, and I'm just kind of there. And I'm like, yeah, cool. Books, am I right? I'm well read. I like to read. I just haven't made the time to do so in quite some time now. But my girlfriend then was reading with work. She'll listen to audiobooks a lot now, and she really likes it. The Fourth Wing, which was funny. I was getting like a play-by-play from her, right? Almost every day I'd get like a rundown of this happened, and this happened, and this happened. And then all of a sudden, I like hadn't heard squat. She hadn't told me much. And then she's like, oh yeah, I'm on the second book now. I'm like, I don't even know what happened on the end of the first book. So what a mystery. Though she said it's getting an adaptation for television. So I don't know if that was her way of like kind of keeping it from me. And so in case we watch it as a TV show, there's still something for me to gravitate, like catch. Or she just was just that enthralled with it and kept watching and kept listening to the audiobook, and we just hadn't had time to catch up, I guess, with it. Don't know. Either way, it sounded interesting enough. The Fourth Wing, the book series. 3 books now, I think it was, and then 2 more coming to finish it off. Which leads me to How to Train Your Dragon, which is, the real star of the Dragon show. Which I'm pretty sure that's soon, isn't it? The live action adaptation. Which, that's how you do a live action adaptation. You have the actual director from the animated one be the director of the new one. Yes, animated films and live action films are very different, right? They're handled in different ways. I understand this. But that doesn't mean there's not like a skill set overlap of how things are going to look. And so I think that's a smart move. Maybe not always having them be the exact same role per se, but having them an integral part of the process, I think is a necessity if you want it to succeed and you want it to be faithful. If you want to do something different, like I talked about the other day in terms of like coming back to an old piece. Like if you want to make it different, okay, well that's a whole other ball game. That's fine. But if you're trying to capture that initial essence of the animated one, you got to include them then. And I think I'm hoping that will bode well now for this one, because I absolutely loved How to Train Your Dragon. I was trying to remember, I talked about then the other day with my girlfriend about the TV show that existed, and I could not remember the name of it, but I was trying to think of where it would even be streaming, and the way streaming is handled now, who knows if it even exists in space anymore or what. But that was cool. I think it was, again, that was like Riders of Berk or something. Dragon Riders, something. Dragon Tales, I don't know. Let's all go to Dragon Tales. Growing up with 2 notably younger sisters, I got a lot of different TV and cartoons. I had all what I got to watch as a kid, but then I got to got to, had to, you know, whatever, however you want to look at it, see a lot of that kind of the kids stuff too. That was beyond my time. Dragon Tales being one of them. But I actually love Dragon Tales. That was such a cute show. I was always stoked when the kids wanted to watch that. We would always sing along and stuff too. Spoiler, you know, I'm not someone, if you couldn't tell, I'm someone who will gladly sing along. So right now I'm going through, since the inner part of the ear in my mind is also a metal, it's going to get the same treatment kind of as the sword, because it's getting this strong highlight then, right? I want just on the other ear that's further from the light, I'm just kind of doing like this little 90 degrees, right? These little corners, because that's kind of where I think the light would be hitting the most, because it's curving up. And this lip has a different plane change as we established, and then the edge of this ear will still be getting caught with some light. Just a little though. Which brush is this? This is, here, let's go to the gritty one. And since it's a metal, we've talked about this, metal is very reflective, and there could be imperfections in a metal like this too, right? So I'm going to take this lighter color and just kind of very gently, ooh, I said gently, man, holy cow. Give a little bit, and I'm moving in the shape of the ear, right, of that curve. You really shouldn't see much. Like when I do this, you shouldn't see a whole lot. It should just kind of gel. That said, I do want to add a little bit more here on the edges, because this part I feel like will be, like I said, catching more light and not having too much light there feels very flat. So I'm just bopping in a little bit more to feel like that curves around better. I think that helps. Oops, too heavy, too heavy. Yeah, I think that works for the ear there. That red hella pops now, though. Good or bad. I do like it, though. Like I said, I wanted the red to pop. It definitely pops. So I'm going to go in, now that we've got, like, this little strap piece is kind of getting lost. So yes, this is the really light red, but I'm going to fudge it. Since this is closer to the light source, I'm okay with this one getting hit with a little bit more of that that light color that we had established only for the metals. But since this is kind of like right in the forefront of where the color or the light would be hitting, I'm okay with just ever so lightly slapping that there. And then I'm just straight up adding, that's just the color of the highlight, is the whole thing right there on this red by the face. And then we'll do the same thing, just a little bit of highlight on these guys. Okay. So my thing in question right now that I was debating, just so I can, again, as always, talk out loud or think out loud, is how I want to handle right now the red of the paint, because it still feels a little awkward. I don't know what I want to do. I think maybe because paint exists in a 3D space more. Let's take the purple. I don't know if this is going to work. We'll see. I'm actually going to take just like my sketch brush, my liner here, so it has a little bit of texture. Shrink it down, and I wonder if we give like just a little bit to this on the paint, because really, like I said, paint does, it is set on top of an object. So especially on like a metal like this, I'm sure it would be kind of heavy handed. So it would exist in 3D space, which would warrant it to have some sort of shadow, right, on its own piece. So we talked about plane shifts. If you think of paint as like a thick spill on something, right? They're technically, you have a curvature to that, right? It has to form to the shape. So I feel like maybe this will help, and then I'll do the same thing on the metal itself. I'm not sure. We're gonna try it out and see. Again, a lot of these things, I haven't done this kind of stuff, right? This kind of painting. So we're learning together, though you guys at least get the benefit of seeing my failures, and I've got my background of all my traditional art and education and stuff that kicks in for this stuff too, but definitely still just on the fly. I zoomed in so far that I'm like, how long is this sword? Am I done yet? For real though, holy crap. So we're by the bone part at least now, which means we're halfway. You can't really super see it, but that's kind of what we talk about. Some of these things that you do that when you're painting like this kind of stuff, it's not what you see, right? When I zoom out, you don't see purple, right? But it feels a little more cohesive. Let's do the same thing on these. Like especially the edges here. So what I'm doing is I'm putting it where the shadows exist, not where the highlights exist on here, because obviously this is all getting hit by more direct light than the other part. And it's more variable. The sword was directly all on top, right? So we knew where the shadow would be. Whereas this is kind of variable. So again, I think once I add this same kind of treatment to the metal underneath, that will help even more to sell the paint aspect of it. I like this jazzy bit that's coming on now with our Chilbo Baggins music. Obviously, this is already in shadow. You can't really see too much more. Giving just a little bit harder of a shadow to this. The harder the shadow, the more like manufactured the feel is then. So I just kind of want to make sure this feels very metal, you know? Oh, it feels metal. But like for real. Again, it is weird that like painting all on one layer. I was telling my friends the other day, it's weirdly freeing in the sense of like, whatever, just do it. You might have to change things. You can paint over it. You can fix it. You know what I mean? Like, you just do it. Just go to town, man. And I do like that. Very different than my norm, and I like it. Nice. I'm gonna switch. I've got my coffee here that's empty. It's been empty, but I need more water. I've been talking a lot. Surprising. Oh my god, this effing chair gets stuck. Ugh. Okay, sorry. And I grab the little bar, so I swap stuff out and then have little guy here. I'll have that in probably like, what is it? 12:20. Maybe in like a half hour, 45 minutes. Okay. So, what were we doing? We're painting things, right? We're doing things. What am I even looking at now? Now that everything's kind of in there, what do we want to do? I think I want to add, like I said, a little bit of grit to this paint. We'll see. I'm going to try it, and if I don't like it, I'm just going to undo it. So I'm going to actually just duplicate this. So in case I F up, I don't even have to undo stuff. I can just, yeah. So what I want to do is get, what eraser do I have that I could use that's like, maybe feels like paint? I mean, I can always just use this grit that I've been doing, make it pretty light, and see how this looks. Make it smaller, make it even more opaque. Oh, that's too like soft. I want something with like ridges. Do you know what I mean? Because I mean that is gritty with like the little bit of ridges, but I want like harder. Like my hairbrush that I use. That is way too big though. Holy shoot us. That feels too straight then, like these pieces. Yeah, I don't like that. The quest continues. Let's just look at other brushes. I haven't used a lot of these, so maybe some of the ink things will help because they're more splattery. Oh, that is not what I thought. Okay. That kind of could work. I want to explore whatever this brush is actually later. That looks kind of cool. Ah, never mind. I lied. I don't like it. It's just too basic. So like I said, I want to look for something that just has, I could do it by hand, I'm sure. But I'm curious to see if I can find in my plethora of brushes, like just a basic texture that could. See, like this. I want this kind of thing, but a little more straight. Like those were dots, I want them elongated a little bit. Like not quite a splatter, more of like a scratch. Again, I could probably go in and just take that brush actually and fix it to be more of a scratch because the bones are there, but frankly, I just don't want to. Okay. Yeah, I don't know. I'm not quite, none of these are really, these noise brushes that I've got actually look kind of cool from, I don't know who made these, but. Ooh, okay, so let's make this more opaque. Way more opaque, way smaller maybe. Maybe not this exact one, but this noise idea is actually pretty cool. Let me drop down the opacity even more on this one then. Not quite. These are definitely cool though. I like what we're seeing here. So one of these will do. Whether we do round, go back to one of the ones that had more more grit, more ooh, this one. I don't know if we even looked at this one, did we? Cool. We're taking too long. Let's just do something like this. This one's good enough, right? So again, I'm only doing this to the paint because I want it to feel like the paint is obviously like not fresh and not brand new and not without like some sort of, you know, little breaks in the color as if it's chipping or not, you know. So super basic. I'm not doing anything too crazy, but just enough that it doesn't feel like perfect. And I think it'll go a long way here on the sword because the sword obviously is going to have more wear and tear on the edge, right? There's no way this red would be this pure. Okay, I think that helps. It doesn't feel as like super harsh anymore, right? Because that red was cool, but also was like too dominant in those spots on the sword and stuff, I feel like, on the metal. I think that works. Ish. So let's just, oh yeah, that was way too harsh, the other one. So let's delete that. Now, like I said, what I want to do is go back to the sword. So these colors, right? And I kind of want to just paint. So turn on, alpha lock still on. So I never did like my color breakdown for these, right? Like I did for the other. So I don't have the luxury of having these colors to pick. But I can kind of just look at like color pick enough of these. The darkest shade that I can find, which actually is probably up here. It's more of the purple. And then no, I want it more blue. So let's see if this looks okay. What this color looks like. That's a little more purple. Let's keep it a little more blue. Okay. So again, we're going to do that same thing where I'm not even going to use my gouache brush. I'm going to use my sketch brush because my sketching brush is like super gritty already. And I'm just going to make it really itty bitty. Oops. I don't know how I made that disappear. So let's see if we even see this. Well, that's real thin. Let me make it a little larger. Okay. Maybe back to like the actual point. So now we're just going to kind of make it as if this paint is touching the sword in such a way that it's leaving a little bit of a shadow then on it. And since we slowly erased some bits, I kind of want to put this shadow into the erased bits, right? Because obviously that would be pretty heavy in shadow if it's just completely surrounded. So like this chunk here, that's a big chunk, just cover that in this darker shade to really feel like this color is, the paint is actually coming off, right? And you can see the shadow of the piece underneath. The other day we were playing, you know, we play our games Monday and Wednesday nights, my buddies. And my one friend made fun of me because you know when you speak, right? And you slip up a word somehow, like you say it wrong. We were playing Fortnite and it was launch pad. And it was the end of the night. you know, you're getting kind of silly, goofy. You know, you're all kind of tired, and both two of my buddies, their games crashed while we were in the end game too. So I was like, crap, how is this? Like, so it was just the two of us in a squad match, and I had looked at the one thing, and I was like really trying to focus on the enemies ahead, trying to figure out how we could make this work with just the two of us instead, which is always a struggle. And my brain went to look at the launch pad, but my brain was like not all there. And for some reason, I just added an L. And I said launch plaid. Like you could, and like I tried to catch it as it was coming out of my mouth, but I was like, ah, sheesh. And it was funny because then, of course, my one buddy just jumped on it and started making fun of me for misspeaking. And we talked about how it is that thing that like when you're with your buddies, especially when you know you messed up a word like that, like something stupid, right? Meaningless in the grand scheme of things. You know full well, like, ah, crap. One of my buddies is gonna make fun of me now. Like you just know as the words being misspoken, you're like, no, but it's too late. The damage is done. You can't undo it. I don't know if everybody's friends do that, but I know mine always do. Like that's we're butts. So with this, I also kind of want to do that same little bit of shadow on the sword bit. I'm sorry, the sword bit, the bone bit here. I wonder if this will look too light now comparatively. Sometimes having a value change is just nice either way though. So let's do like a really thin one here. And I think I might do the same on the sword. I keep saying on the bone part. Because it doesn't feel like it feels like two disparate pieces, the bone and the actual like blade here. So I kind of want to unify them through shadows a little better. Yeah, that looks good. Now that I have this, I kind of want to just make sure I use this color in a few of the other shadows just to make the shadows feel more alive, but also to unify then these colors together with the other metal, you know, or the other purplish, reddish, or bluish kind of shades. Wonder if it's too much if I do these on. Again, I already did all the stupid Ben Grimm stuff, so I don't necessarily want to start adding like a ton of. But that color variation does look good. Shoot. Maybe we will. Maybe we will. Let me just add this to the metal now, though. Crap, that's not the metal. The metal is here. So this is obviously a different color. The metal versus the blues, but I kind of want to see if we can use the same color and see how that looks. Like the same color between the two materials. It doesn't look bad. That works, right? Doesn't look great. This piece still I hate. I absolutely hate this part of her outfit. I don't know why I don't. It just feels so jarring. It doesn't feel like it exists properly in that space. No. Though we've got, what is this, 2 hours before I need to be done? That's actually pretty good. I think we're making okay time. I will have her done, hopefully, then. At least done enough, right? Like, that's my big thing, is it's done enough. I can noodle the hell out of it, sure, but I don't need to. So 2 hours is more than enough, my gosh, to have this guy, this girl, all cleaned up. So let's do a little bit more. Like I said, I kind of like this purple in like these heavy shadowed areas here. It makes it just feel, yeah, more organic and more alive, right? When you have just one thing of one color, like even though if you do your nice color variations and stuff like we do, it still just feels kind of flat sometimes. And that's kind of what was happening with this. So it's not like this purple is like, wow, you can totally see it. But again, like we talk about, it's what you don't see. It's what you make it feel like then. So we don't necessarily see this purple when we zoom out too much, but it feels more organic then. And again, I'm using, like I said, weirdly enough, I'm not even using my normal paint brushes here. I'm using my, like what I normally would do for my initial sketch layer. So it's kind of weird using this brush for this use, but I think it kind of works, especially with this material. Man, I know I talked about my food, but my stomach is rumbling already, so I don't know. I don't know what the best case is. There's a rumbling in my tumbling. Time for something sweet. Nice. Yeah, barely can see it, but it's enough for me. So let's do that same thing real quick on these other scales. Again, not being super overly specific, just kind of where the shadows specifically would, not being overly specific, just specifically here. No, not being overly specific, but just kind of like generally where the shadows would lie on this, like based on the light and the form of her leg. So not being like too beholden to too much, but just kind of either like right on the other plane shift of the highlight that we are doing here, or just on the opposite end of the piece itself. Yerp. Barely see it, but that's the way I like it. That's the way I like it, and I never get bored. Adding a little bit more, like as if it's the ambient occlusion, like up here on the rim, the edge of this. Almost done. This is boring, just like why I was so done drawing Ben, the thing the other day, because it's just like, it's not like exciting. It's not like a satisfying way of making a mark. It's just tedious, which again, that is art sometimes when you need it to look right. It's going to be a little tedious, but sometimes when you've already done all of this kind of stony texture already last week, and I'm just over it. I'm over it. But it's okay. I'm almost done now. Even more down here since this part of the foot is like heavily shadowed comparatively. So I'm just doing like being real messy with a whole lot of it. If you notice, just kind of slapping all of it in there. Okay, again, as we zoom out, you barely notice it. I understand this. But it's that little bit of color that helps go a long way that we always talk about. So the paint is looking better. The swords and the purples in that look better. I think we've got all the actual color now, right? Like this is, if we take off the palette, everything has value. It just, some things need more. Like I feel like the bones need a little bit harder darks, and the waistband needs some addressing too, to heavily shadow some stuff up. I don't know. So as is always my problem, I don't do backgrounds. I don't do any sort of like extra stuff like that, right? I always just do my like little bit of color and erase and have it like a very graphic poppy outline. But I don't want to, I don't know, maybe I do that again here. I feel like that's always what I do. Every single drawing is that. I'm trying to like think of a way that isn't that. Because I want to be done, right? I want this piece to be done. I'm complete by the end of stream, right? I don't know. Maybe I need food for thought, right? So we'll eat this bar a little early. We'll eat half. I'll eat half right now. Maybe that'll get me my creative brain flowing. Yeah, she looks good. Again, looking at her on stream, so I see like a very small, not as clear image, which helps. It's equivalent of like when you squint your eyes or something. I've been looking at this with the gradient off. Gradient doesn't help too much if I add that right now, does it? No. It's not like too drastic. What have it only at 11%? We need to crank that gradient up a little heavier, I think, for the top to pop a little better, like 25%. Then I feel like there's a better movement of the eye. Yeah. Wonder if we do, while we're here, F it, let's do another gradient. Sorry. And really lean in, okay? So let's take like a, oh gosh, where am I with my brushes now? Get my soft brush, right? Just big. Big old fat brush. How big is this? Real big. And let's take like a deep purple. And I just kind of want to, that's a very high opacity though. then do the opposite here. Let's take like a light. That was real bright. So you see, just kind of like swapping, like, I feel like it needs to flow better. There's not enough value shift. So I don't know how much I like how heavy that purple is here. Oh, this is a small brush. So I wonder if I just kind of like move it down a smidge. But you see, all I'm trying to do is just like, so the eye moves with value, right? And if everything's very samey, like this is very flat, and that's okay. But if we want it to really catch the eye, we give this gradient so the eye moves up. Then also it's not like a color, too heavy in color. So I feel like if we do something like this, but I always want to play with my blending layers and see what can help it really crank it. So like add kind of looks cool, right? So this is without, and I'm giving it just like a little bit. Like, let's do like 30. Let's do a little more. Let's do 40. The brights just feel a little brighter, right? And the darks have like a little bit of more color to them. As opposed to turning both of these off, right? Very flat. So I like that. That was good. So if that's kind of the color we're looking at, how do we'll go through and do the extra shadows, right? I said I wanted to do another shadow pass. I'll do that after now. But for now, I'm kind of just trying to see like what the piece as a whole is going to look like. So let us do my stupid thing and see what it looks like, right? Let's just humor me, right? I always do these damn colors. Basic background. Let me just look at what it looks like, okay? Just for funsies, all right? So I don't even know, like, what you would add. I kind of like this color. I don't even remember what color this was. Why I have this color. Oh, this was the highlight kind of thing I was just doing. So can we do like a... What if we do like a floor instead? Nope. Yeah, I really talk about... I'm getting better with my characters, right? But I feel like I need to really figure out what to do for some sort of background at some point, because these are not my little blops of color. Yes, are like a nice little cohesive piece that I always do then that feel like, oh, it's a Britton thing. Also, I feel like a hack that it's like, well, that's boring. You're just doing that same shit. Yup. You guessed it. Let me go back to I had the wrong eraser, because when we were doing the metal, the eraser was that like noise brush that I had. I wonder what's like Monster Hunter designs. Could we do like a Monster Hunter-y pattern? Because I feel like there's so many cool patterns in Monster Hunter. Does it look better if we do it top or bottom? Or do we accentuate and do something like that? It's actually not terrible. I kind of like the angle then. We fill it entirely. Do the same thing here. Fill up the space a little. feels weird. Like I made it too angled is my problem right here. That's where I'm looking at. I'm trying to make it feel parallel with the top part of the square. Again, I've got no clue what I'm doing. I just kind of never know what I'm doing with these stupid basic color backgrounds. But I feel like I need something to offset just the all white. If we just do one side. Yeah, I don't know. It's too distracting almost, I feel like, isn't it? Yeah, everything just gets way too distracting when I start adding like too much graphic nature to the backgrounds. I never know. I never know what to do. Yeah, because I was thinking what I was trying here was like, oh, what if we do like remove the color on the one and then add like a weird shadow-ish thing on the backdrop on the other side. But I do not like that. Let's look up Monster Hunter patterns, okay? Because maybe there's some cool pattern I can like paint on and overlay it. Oh, here I can't. Monster Hunter patterns. These are like, yeah, not what I wanted. I mean, Monster Hunter stuff always has like that book, right? That old leathered book feel. Like you can even see on the concept art pages, like they've got the books. Yeah, I'm not seeing anything on my end. Yeah, no, that feels too graphic, right? Like too cartoony when I'm trying to paint it a little more realistic. Like with that white outline, you know? I've got like weathering stuff though. So I'm trying to see if I have like because their stuff always looks like old paper. So I wonder if I do something like that. Nope, that's not the texture I want. Not a huge fan of that, but it doesn't look bad. What if we go lighter? Ugly pattern too. So obviously that added quite a bit of just random texture to it, but I don't know how much I like it. What if we do the eraser thing that I normally do, right? But keep it thin? Like, don't be so intense with it. As I immediately make it way too intense. So it is Thursday, which is the day before Friday, as anyone with half a brain cell understands the days of the week. I hope somebody's got something fun going on this weekend. I'm trying to think what we had. I don't think we had anything majorly planned ourselves this weekend. Kind of haven't had anything like major in a bit for us here on our end. I know we had talked about possibly finally taking down our Valentine's Day stuff and switching to either maybe like the little bit of St. Patrick's Day stuff we have, or possibly starting up a little bit of Easter maybe. Not sure. We say that and then we just, I don't know. I'm not in any rush. I kind of like the Valentine's Day stuff still. I love the reds, the hearts, the sweet colors and stuff like that. Like, I like that. We've already taken down some of it. It's not like everything's up still, but we like to decorate. We like to have fun and make it look, like super inviting and like a fun place. But you also don't want to keep the same decorations up too long for a specific holiday. That just looks stupid. But yeah, I don't think we're going to do too much in the vein of that. I'm sure I will play some more Rivals. I'm sure she will watch some more K-drama, the good stuff. We do have our gym now, right? All situated. I've gone 2 times now at this new one, this Planet Fitness, that, again, still not a fan of it. Still not a huge fan. They are severely lacking in a lot of the more like advanced bodybuilding type like machines and stuff and setups. They are very, I don't want to say very basic, but they've got a lot of like, they don't have any, like, it's a no nonsense kind of like, yep, the basic stuff that you need. And so for me, my girlfriend's hurt her back too many times, and I've hurt myself too many times. I don't really do squats anymore, like traditional squats, just because of my broken body. So I find myself doing a lot more machine work for my legs, for better or for worse. Like, I know I'd see more gains if I were to be able to do other stuff, but that's not necessarily the goal. The goal is to feel good with the body that's already half broken, and I don't like risking it more. But anyway, like, they've got the basic stuff, right? So like, they actually have I love my hamstring curl, right? Something so simple, but I love my hamstring curls. And they have a good they got 2. Done. Easy. I like the seated hamstring curl, right? I don't like the ones where you lay on your belly. I feel like I don't know. I don't hate those. But again, my form and my collarbone injury kind of flares up with certain angles. And so that's not like the most ideal for me. But I like the seated ones. But yeah, so they've got like that kind of stuff. But then for like shoulder things here and there, I'm like, well, they don't have this, or they don't have that. Like, there's just quite a bit of things that they don't have, including cardio stuff. But I think it'll work overall. And again, the fact that it's so unbelievably close to our house, you kind of can't beat that either. Like, it is so close. I'm like, yeah, it's pretty close. And then when I drove it, I was like, that was 3 minutes or whatever it was. I was like, okay, yeah, that's real close. So when your time is a little more crunched, like on Wednesdays, I get home and I try and get ready real quick so I can play games with my buddies. And stuff came up and I didn't end up even going to the gym until later. But since I'm not doing cardio right now because I messed up my ankle, my session's obviously shorter because I'm not doing my warm-up half hour, 20-ish minutes, but like, about a half hour time period for it. I had a smaller session for lifting, and when I was done lifting, it's almost like a statistical zero the travel time. Like I'm already home, right? I was like, well, hot damn. That's actually really nice. So it's hard to argue with that kind of stuff, right? So I don't know how I feel about this. I feel like this line is almost too thin now. I feel like if I do this, I need to do more like harsher highlight or rim light, like on a top level. Because it kind of blends a little too much for my liking right now with the form. I'm not going to do the individual divots because that's too much detail. That would look ugly. And the divots were there just for like a little bit of extra oomph to make it feel more uniform. Not about to accentuate it more than what I needed. Not today. That's a big, big line. I was trying to be like because one quick line I can be more smooth with, right? More clean, I feel like. But it gets too thick then. Oh, this part's gonna get messy because there's like when I drew this, I hated how much overlap there was. We talked about this multiple times, so now outlining the overlap, I feel like is gonna just make it look even more busy, or possibly less, because most of it's going to be erased. Then, not really though. Like it'll make it look more busy. That's wishful thinking on my end, but understanding of how visuals work, I know it's going to be more busy, and that's okay. Might be scrapping this whole thing anyway. Who knows? Need to learn to make cool backgrounds. But I don't today. I see your cool background and raise you square. Ay. I feel like that doesn't like help sell the shape like I want it to. I don't know. We'll leave it there for now. Very indeed. I forgot to post on Blue Sky again that I went live today. Darn it. Oh, it doesn't help that I'm not posting on my socials for this kind of stuff. So it's like, hey, I'm just lost in the ether. Hopefully somebody catches, which is why I have my viewership's been hella low. But oh well. Win some, you lose some. Lately, I've been losing some, and that's okay. But, I will grab, just since we're nearing the end of this, right? We'll grab my little signature. My little guy. How big is the big one, though? I wonder how nice this looks instead. There. I always forget. Paste. Nice. That is not where it will live. I don't know. I'm always torn with like where I slap this guy. Make it smaller. Like, do we do negative space here? No, I do not like that. I feel like I'm lazy and half the time I was like, it's in the corner. There's my name. That's me in the corner. God. So playing Rivals, I like playing as Thor, right? And my stupid brain literally got MVP as Thor in one of my ranked matches. And I immediately texted my buddies because my brain had this thought, and my apparent brain just said, this is fact now. You must do this. And my brain went, for those of you that don't know the song, it's an REM song, an old song, Losing My Religion. But my brain, that's me in the corner. That's me in the spotlight. Losing my religion. Like, blah, blah, blah. But anyway, so my brain literally saw me as Thor, and the person I always like to sing random ditties and stuff. And my brain went, that's me in the Thorner, because I'm Thor instead of corner. And I said that, and I had to send that to my friends, and they all were like, well, we hate you. I hope you know this. And I was like, you know what? Fair. I hate that too, but I had to share it. So I did. That's me in the Thorner. And now here you all are having to hear it too. Let me tell you, it probably didn't get better with time. Not at all. I wonder if I add like a little gradient to this too. So just a little bit. I kind of like that. It just helps the color read a little better. Can we do like... Okay, bear with me. I know this is annoying, all this crap I keep doing. I'm not a fan of it either. But what if we do that same kind of like texture with the erase? Holy that is not the right texture. Crosshatch the hell out of it. Nope. What was the, where did we go? Was it lithotones, right? Let me just take one of these noise brushes. Make it hella big, hella thin, hella opaque. Narp. Yeah, I do not like that. Nope. I never use all black. That looks weird. I feel like she needs some sort of highlights now, like on top of all of it. Don't mind me just changing my mind every 5 seconds. Is what I do, is what I do. Or what if we more heavily do increase this eraser? This is no longer Lord of the Rings music. I can tell you that much. I'm no Lord of the Rings expert by any means. But I know this is not that. Not quite sure how Spotify thought I wanted to listen to this after Lord of the Rings, but yeah, we'll see if we can add some highlights now. So we're gonna do a top level adjustment now. After I was gonna make this eraser, like the edge work, a little bit thicker. Now that we're just got like more graininess, and I'm wondering if I can make her pop with some clean, like not quite Marvel Rivals chromatic abrasion, massive friggin' highlights and stuff, but like something more akin to that where it kind of helps her stand out more than she is now. Still the thinner on the inner part, maybe, like on the shadow part. I don't mind that. Okay, so now we need to look at like her as a whole and do some top level adjustments, right? So I think she looks fine. She's presentable enough now. So probably maybe just above everything, above the gradients, above everything. Let's just, so we're going to grab our gouache brush that we've been using a lot, like our shader, right? I'm just going to, this is going to look ugly. I'm just trying to get an idea. So bear with me. No judgment here, okay? I was right. That looks ugly. Who would have known? I'm just trying to see what a really hard highlight would look like on her. This is extremely sharp of a highlight, and I understand this. I'm just kind of gauging the feel. Overlay looks like it's trying to be too natural, where I want it to look cartoony almost. I'm torn with stuff like this because like at times I'm like, this kind of looks good. And then other times like, wow, that looks really stupid. Why would you do this, Britton? I'm not sure. It's intense. I will admit. That is very intense of a light now. I don't know if this is the move, but again, worst case, we've got time today. Today we've got actually a little bit of excess time, which is usually not the case. So I'm kind of okay noodling for a sec, just to kind of see how intense we can push this, right? Let's just see. Let's crank it and go from there. Yeah. So my buddy, I think I talked about oh gosh. So I'm trying to, okay, sorry. I was going to tell a story, but I kind of am trying to see up here now what the image looks like on the smaller scale. I don't know. This weird ass highlight is doing it. It just feels a little intense. What if we just crank it down a little bit? Something like that. I don't know. I like it and hate it at the exact same time. Don't know. I really don't know about this one. I can see the merit in like having this nice glow. It kind of just makes it pop. But it also doesn't feel very Monster Hunter-y then. I feel like if we do this, we need to also then like do the same thing, but with a shadow. You know, like, because if I'm being this drastic with highlight, well, then you kind of have to do the same with the shadows, don't you? Maybe that'll help it. If I do this and then I do some shadows against this, then it'll be like super contrasty. Whatever, let's try it. So there's our insane Captain Insano friggin' highlights. So this is normal. This is overly blasted, butt blasted. What if we just, okay. What if we settle it? Okay, I like 30. 30% of that is like a nice glow, but not like insane, right? Okay, let's try that, but not with shadow. Do the same thing. Let's just get a darker bluish color. It'll be relatively universal, right? Okay. The same thing though, I don't like the normal color blend. Right, so let's see, like on the chest. A little here. Round it out more, the shapes. What I was gonna say is my buddy, who asked me to be his best man. I think I talked about that on stream the other day. He, my girlfriend was saying like, oh, well, like I had talked about how I want to meet up and hang out, like have like a night of full hanging out with him before he moves, because that's gonna be soon. You know, one of those things like time gets away from you and all of a sudden they'll be gone, right? And I didn't want that to happen, so I said we need to like hang out and have like a set planned like time for us to chill. And my girlfriend's like, well, why don't I leave? He was like, I'm okay not being there, like because I've known him my whole life basically. And so she's like, you guys need that time together. What if I leave and you guys just hang out? And I was like, well, I'm not opposed to that. Like I like having her around and being part of everything, but it's a different feel, right? With your best friend since you were little. And I was like, I wonder. So I gave him my original Xbox, like way back when, like a billion years ago, the original Xbox, because he always just had a PlayStation. And when I got my Xbox 360, I was like, you know what, man? Take my Xbox, game on, you know, like a whole world of new games for him to play. And so he did, and he played a bunch. But the big thing then was that like we used to play Halo all the time. He loved Halo to a fault, right? I hated how much he wanted to play Halo. That was it. That's all he ever wanted to play when he'd come over, because he didn't have an Xbox, so he loved playing Halo. Fair. But for me, I was like, dude, I play Halo already all myself, but I play competitive multiplayer Halo, where he didn't like that. He just played the campaign always, and we would always just play the campaign. And so I gave him my Xbox so he could do that on his own time. But no, I was like, you know what would actually be rad as hell if it still worked, is if we took that original Xbox that's somewhere in his parents' basement, I think now, and we found like, you know, some sort of adapter, obviously, for those cables nowadays. And we just rocked out one night and just hooked it up, got pizza. I don't eat pizza much, but like, you know, the vibe is fitting. Like to get pizza and just play some old games, right? Just play through like the Halo campaign and get pizza and just have like one of those nights, right? And I think that would be really fun. So we'll see. We'll see. I told him to check if that Xbox even works anymore. And then if it does, because I'm pretty sure his parents, I'm sure in that basement in their old house, they've got some sort of old CRT TV that he can test it on. And then if it does work, then I can get an adapter for our house here. You know, then I can always figure some way that he can bring it here and we can just have a good old time. But I thought that would be super fun. And then he mentioned, he's like, yeah, what if I dig out my old Yu-Gi-Oh cards? I was like, dude, I don't even know where my old Yu-Gi-Oh cards are. Like, it took me the longest time. So back in college, like, so after high school, I had like apparently put away my Yu-Gi-Oh cards for good, right? Like, I never really played them as I got older. Ooh, we'll continue that story in a second. I need to like visually assess this for a second because sometimes when I talk too much, I like have a hard time looking at things. So this is the flat, right? This is what we've been working with. And I said I wanted to do a top-down extra oomph of shadows and highlights. Now I'm trying to gauge the is it, do I gain something from this? I think you do. I think these give darker darks and lighter lights, and I think that helps her pop more. So I think I'm okay with this. I've got a little more adjusting to do. I'm not saying I'm done, but just saying like as I'm moving along, is this something worth pursuing kind of thing, you know? I think it is. I think that looks cool. I still don't know what the hell the background is. It looks stupid as hell, but that's fine. Nobody cares. Psych, I care, but whatever. So we'll continue with these like heavy top level shadows and highlights, then I think it's worth exploring. Though I am going to pop up my palette real quick just because this is a blue that I don't use and anywhere else on the painting. So I just want to like go to my palette real quick. So if I want to pull this color later, I've got it in case, you know, if I switch stuff, change gears and want to come back to it. Okay, so I think I need to go in and just do a little bit more fine tuning with this extra layer right now, like spots like this by her face, or literally on her face even. I just, there was not enough contrast to this image. It looked good, but I feel like it was missing high variation. And that's something we talked about, that like you kind of need to have like, if I were to turn this black and white, right? Is it all the same kind of gray? Like you need to make sure there's a lot of oomph to it to really make a piece stand out, to look, one, just to look cool, right? First and foremost, we want stuff to look cool, but to also make it look more real, right? You kind of need that. And so like, because I'm using this single blue right now, it's like a unifying, not quite a rim light by any means, but it is kind of like a weird rim light since it's all the same color, right? Like I can do another layer style for it so it sets differently, but that's not gonna get the impact that I want really anyway. I kind of like that it's all unified, all blue, so that it feels, you know, better, more cohesive. But anyway, no, the story that I was going to tell before I wanted to like step back and take a look at this for a moment, which, oh, my nose, is important, right? Like we talk about that a lot. Like you need to step away and look at what we're, the bigger picture of it, right? And I still hate this background though. Maybe once we get these colors, maybe I'll reassess the background one more time. But until then, we'll keep playing with this. That said, give me like 1 minute. I will be right back. As we established, I'm eating more and drinking more and sitting here. I don't know how people do it without a bathroom break. I'll be right back. I return. I return. Okay. How are we looking? I feel like stepping away for a second, coming back, and just looking at it helps too, like I talk about. I do like these new shadows and the new highlights. I still feel like there's something missing. And it's literally this stupid background. I really don't like it. I'm not sure what else to do. Ooh. What if I do... I'm just pulling out my ass right now, okay? Because I just hate that. I don't know. These backgrounds are all stupid. We do all black, which I feel like is going to be terrible. Yeah, that looks bad. I was like, what if we just go, not all black, but like a grayish color, right? I was like, and then do like a white outline. Help her pop this way. I need to like take a class on like illustration backgrounds. This kind of ain't cutting it. No way. If only this guy knew how to do backgrounds, that would be pretty cool. What if... I feel like gradient that in so it fades to nothing. Actually, I don't know. Every time I do something, like maybe that's not the worst, and then I'm like, actually, it is the worst. Funny you should say that, because that's the actual worst. I hate how I always want to do these stupid white outlines. One day, I'll make it look cool. What if I do a different color of an outline? No. Ah, crap. I changed the opacity. I was trying to, like, cheat it. I forgot this is a dropped opacity, so that doesn't work. Never mind. No, not the sketch brush. Not the sketch brush. Okay. Anyway, as I'm just gonna mindlessly do this for a sec, the story I was getting at is that it was funny. So in college, this friend that I've been talking about, we used to play Yu-Gi-Oh all the time together. Like that was like one of our things. I mean, he's my best friend since I was little. Like we did a lot of things together, obviously. But Yu-Gi-Oh was one of our many loves, right? And in college, at one point, we were like, man, we had talked about Yu-Gi-Oh, and I was like, yeah, I need to look and find my old cards, you know? Like, I had like 2 big boxes of like my different decks and stuff like that, always, I remember. So I was like, I need to look and find that again. And in my parents' basement at the time at that house, they had like a decent sized storage room in the basement, but it was relatively organized. And I just bumped the microphone. I had looked in that house, in the basement, in the storage, tearing things apart like 10 different occasions over years, right? Like, because obviously it wasn't like a small endeavor. Like, it took hours to do. So when I'd come and visit, there were some weekends where I'm like, you know what? I'm taking a few hours and I'm looking for my damn Yu-Gi-Oh cards in storage. I could never find them. I literally could not find them no matter what I did, no matter everywhere I looked, they were gone. I knew I didn't get rid of them. My dad said he didn't get rid of them because my dad was notorious for his getting rid of shit sometimes. He was pretty good at keeping stuff, but also every once in a while he'd be like, oh, that's just gone. Cool. And then finally they were moving. They were moving out of Illinois, right? And I had to go through the basement again with them, like for realsies, because they were like packing up. I was staying here. I lived in Illinois still, but they were leaving the state, and so I was helping them, and I was like going through all of my stuff, right? It had been the better part of 5 or 6 years I had been looking for these stupid Yu-Gi-Oh cards. And lo and behold, they were there the whole time. I just overlooked it because they were in my high school. There was a tub, right? A tub of my art from high school, which meant like personal art. And then obviously I was in different classes and stuff like that. I did stuff. So like I had a tub of all of that. The tub was just all my art. However, when I was going through that art to clean it up, since we were actually like getting rid of things and downsizing a bit so my parents had less to deal with, or, you know, consolidating, whatever, when you're moving out of the state, you got more work you're doing, right? It was under all my art. Literally, I had looked for 5 years. Because this was right before the start of college, I think I started looking. And then during college, I would always pop every once in a blue moon. I'd be like, maybe I'll find it today. Never could find it. And lo and behold, it was because it was under stuff I never would have thought. Like, those aren't comparative things. Why were my Yu-Gi-Oh cards in with my old high school art tub of shit? Like, I was so elated to find it, but also you're kind of mixed emotion. Like, it was literally right there the whole time, and my dumb self never thought to like, why would I look under all my art? You know what I mean? Why was it set under there? I don't know, but that's where it was. But now fast forward to today, right? 2025. And I actually have no idea where they are again. Because my buddy's like, yeah, we should play Yu-Gi-Oh then too with our, you know, if we have like a throwback night like that, right? Before he gets married and before he moves. And the irony now is I also now have my own storage, right? Like I'm a grown adult with a basement of my own with a massive amount of storage down there. And I'm like, son of a gun, that I'm gonna have to dig through storage again and try and find Yu-Gi-Oh cards. That like somehow that has become a recurring thing in my life, digging through storage to find Yu-Gi-Oh cards. Never thought that would be the thing. But, you know, here we are and I'm doing it again. Or I'm going to have to do it again. I keep my our storage, I'm very anal with storage now as an adult. So like I have so many figures and statues and all these things, right? That, like everything is labeled. Our tubs, we got like all the same sets of tubs, really expensive, nice sets, all clean, all organized. I've got like names on all the tubs denoting what's in, like what type of things are in what. Obviously, that's not every single thing in our basement, but I'm very proactive with trying to make sure that's how the case is, how it is for most things. Of course, I have no clue about the Yu-Gi-Oh. Honestly, though, talking about it out loud now, the more I speak it, the more I think I actually remember where it might be. So that's cool. Good thing I blabbed about it on stream here. So my brain was just like back burner thinking about it that whole time. And I have an idea where it is in the basement. Though I remember when I pulled open, I didn't have like deck boxes. I had like nice sleeves, but I didn't have deck boxes for all of them. And I remember one set was like on in rubber bands when I went and grabbed it, when I found it the first time back when my parents were moving. And it was rough. Like rubber bands, obviously, as most people know, do not stand the test of time. And it was like sticky all over the car. I was so upset. I was like, why did I do this? Why did young Britton think this was okay? Young Britton probably didn't think he was putting them away for however many years to get lost in the ether for God knows how long. So I still don't like this white outline I'm working on. I'm gonna try the white outline, and then I'm going to get back to doing the like high level shadows and highlights real quick. And then can figure out the final touches later. But I feel like I want the coloring done a little. I skipped a couple parts that I wanted to finish up. And I got distracted with this, so I want to go back in and finish those little things. And then we can be almost done. Because it's getting late, actually, I'm pretty sure, right? I don't even know what time it is. It's 1:50, so we're getting near the end of our timeline here. Which is nice, because I'm getting pretty darn hungry. Yep, you guessed it. I hate it. Oy, ay, 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 ay. Backgrounds, am I right? Yeah, I hate it. I think what I'm going to do is I'm just going to figure out a background later off stream because clearly this is not working for me. I need to just finish the colors. Boop. Okay, screw it. Back to where we're looking. So go back to the palette that I had, right? So I want that blue back that I was working with shadows, right? So go back here and just kind of quickly go back to the overall shadow layer here. Okay. Yep. And kind of, I'm going to toggle it on and off so you can kind of see where the shadows hit and where I don't have anything extra, right? So I don't have much on the feet or the sword. So that might help. Let's go add a little to the feet at the bottom. And then on the bottom of the sword here definitely needs a little bit of attention because it's not, doesn't have any of this blue now. Okay. A little bit of shadow maybe here too. Needs a little bit of extra oomph along the leg. How are we looking now? Extra shadow layers, pretty intense. Like maybe a little bit on the tip here. The tooth maybe leaves a little bit of it's looking really bright now. I'm curious what other layer styles look like. Multiplies hella dark. I like the fact that it was a, like that just darkens it. We've talked about like black isn't necessarily going to give it the nice like color we want. So overlay versus normal. Kind of like the overlay. Cool. I think that works. I think I need to stop noodling it. That said, I think these highlights do really help though, right? So again, this is the flat. This was the flat color, right? Before we add any gradients, any other nonsense, right? Like it's just the colors that we painted, which isn't bad. The painted colors look fine. But it kind of feels very samey, you know, like it's all about the same kind of energy. So, excuse me. Goodness, that was a loud one. Apologize. So then if we add, like we said, gradient to flow the eye, extra gradient, highlight overall, heavier shadows to make her sit more in space, right? And then a pop of color to really like give it that edge. It's still pretty bright though. Because again, 100%, keep in mind, this is what 100% was. That's not happening. Even like 50% is a lot. I want it to be more subtle. I think maybe straight 30%. That helps. Okay. And now doing this, I noticed the leg needs a little bit of attention down in this shadow. There's not like anything here. And really, this is actually a point of a lot of shadow if you think about how the folds of the clothes are, and then how the leg is just around the light there. So just adding a little bit more there for my own nonsensical brain. And I forgot I didn't add any up here, which that was kind of what I wanted to do earlier. was to be sure I add a little bit onto these handles, because the handles really are in quite a bit of shadow, right? There's really not much light hitting them. So really hit them with this blue. I just want, like, this color on the armor here looked a little too lit up. I just wanted to make sure it felt like there was, it didn't feel as like round of a shape, because everything else had like these nice new shadows, these heavier blues and stuff. And then without it, that one felt like it stood out a little bit too much for my liking. Cool. Okay. Now, if only we had a background for this sucker, right? We could call her done. I want to put the colors all in their own. I like being able to like turn them on and off. Like, I like keeping things in folders just for my own brain. So if we group these, we can see again what just like the line work look like, right? Which is nice to go from like what was our sketch to what was the line work to then throwing in color. Cool beans. So she's done. I'm cool with her being done, but can we think of a background? We got what time is it? It is 2:05, so we actually got like 20 minutes. Oh, this has been a weird stream again. I feel like not many people have trickled in. It's been kind of lame. I feel like viewership's been kind of down, but that's okay. I should be getting more stuff soon with other content being pumped out. But for now, it just was kind of, makes for a little bit of a boring stream. So I do apologize for those that do stick around, that it's like not the most exciting, but I appreciate those that do stay. So, backgrounds. Am I right, ladies? Okay. So let's be stupid again with our weird little squares and stuff. What if we do like a square? This is the wrong brush. Who put this brush here? Should probably color that. Let's make it, wonder if we make it more of like the purple color we've been doing instead. I like that. So I'm still trying to make my background work with these stupid outlines. This is massive just to see if this looks stupid with this pattern. Kind of. I've seen worse though. I've made worse just in this time today. We've all seen it. Again, worst case scenario, I noodle with this off stream because the game technically is live tomorrow, right? I think that's like the actual release date of the game. Or is it today? I actually don't know. Maybe it's Thursday. Thursday does sound right. So I guess dang it. I was gonna say I can always just post it tomorrow with the release, but I can't remember what the actual release date is. Kind of is important. Oh, well, you saw that low power mode, mate. iPad's already almost dead. 10% though, I'm sure. 10% we can get through the end of stream. Like how, just like I am running out of energy. I feel ya, iPad. I feel ya. And just like my iPad, I'm not one of the newer models with more energy, with better power efficiency. You know, I'm one of these old models. I'm dragging. Honestly, like I can barely even see the white stroke at this point because it's such a thin, opaque spot. What if we add like another bit of color to this one? Can we just duplicate it? What does that look like? Duplicate it, move it. Adjust the color. I don't know. They all are lame. I want to draw backgrounds. I want to learn to draw backgrounds because that will help. There was the one artist we saw not too long ago. I should reference something that they did. Because they did like some cool. Oh, that actually looks kind of neat. In a very weird way. Oops. Still not doing it for me. What a surprise. I don't know. I think that actually weirdly looks okay enough, right? Let's call that. I'm done. I keep noodling. I think that's good enough. And again, maybe I'll look at it in a little bit and reassess. But thumbnail, right? We got our thumbnail set up. Beautiful. Look at that. She's done. I'll like cheers, right? Toast. Or do we do the other way because of the camera? Beautiful, right? And the iPad's about to die anyway, so I guess I have to stop. iPad is like legit probably gonna die any second. 7%. So it's still kicking. Kind of. So all right. Well, I think that's as good a time as any to call it here. Today's been, off and on stream, whatever. I feel like we were productive though. We got a good amount done. I think she looks good. I think the background is still just something I need to monkey with, but it's fine. The actual painting itself, I think her image itself is a very clean one. I think it turned out nice. I'm happy with her. Again, trying a bunch of different new ways of painting, and I think it kind of looked cool. Not quite my normal style. Again, anybody looks at my other stuff, you're like, wow, that looks pretty different than my more graphic approach. But trying to find like a middle ground, right? Like, I've got real cartoony, right? Like this, very cartoony. I've got very like hard edged, right? very hard-edged not my malice. Then I've got like stuff like this, which I like. I think the thing is the best middle ground, right? Of simplified gradients, but not too crazy. And then you've got this one that we've been working on now this week. And I think she looks good with all the painted detail and stuff like that. But I do kind of miss just more of my graphic approach. But I don't know. I think overall it's a win. We've got the weekend coming up. So my schedule's been Tuesday and Thursday this week. Still not 100% of this is the best one, I guess, seeing as like retention has been minimal. And by minimal, I mean basically non-existent. But we'll see. Tuesday, Thursday, timeline-wise, seems to make the most sense. But I don't know. Either way, I hope you guys have a good weekend ahead of you, right? Some fun stuff. Obviously, it's not the weekend yet, but close, right? Basically, one more sleep, and then it's kind of the weekend, right? But yeah, until then, I'll see you guys Tuesday. But play some Monster Hunter maybe this weekend if you're into that. Not my thing. I'll be playing Rivals, but you know, you do you this weekend. Have fun, be kind, and kick butt.